My dad used to tell me stories about his time in the Navy. He worked on an amphibious assault ship and was a radar man, which meant that he got to work on all the electrical components. Now, I couldn't tell you most of the stories he told me. The only thing that I do vividly remember from those stories is that it is possible for electricity to kill you. This has carried with me most of my adult life. If you ever watch me try to jumpstart a car, I'm very tentative as I'm hooking things up because I don't want to complete the circuit and have the electricity run through my heart and kill me. So, that said, when I finally bought a house and we got to working on some things on it, electricity was one of those things that I was a little bit nervous about. However, I did get the chance to really learn how to properly do things, and in doing so, kind of figured out that, facing my fear wasn't that big of a deal, and a lot of the stuff is pretty easy to do. Now, obviously, you'll want to check with your local codes, make sure that anything that you're working on, you're able to be working on, and also make sure that you've got the knowledge and know-how behind what you're doing before you start doing it. Don't just jump in and start pulling things out. But this video hopefully will help you get an idea of some tips and tricks to go about changing out light switches when you're got a three-way light that needs fixing. So check it out. So for this project, you're going to need some tools. You'll need a screwdriver that's Phillips head as well as a screwdriver that's flathead. The flathead is usually used to take off the covering plates on the light switches, while the Phillips head is going to be used on the interior electrical work. You'll also need something to strip wire with. Now, I typically use this handy dandy wire stripper that's actually specifically designed for the purpose. It's been one of the best investments that I've had since I started doing some of my own electrical work. It also has these cool little holes up here that are actually quite handy for curling the wire when you're working on it. We'll get to that later. But in a pinch, you can also use just a standard pair of needle nose pliers. You just have to be very careful as you're trying to strip the wire with it, not to actually clip the wire with it.
Whoa, 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 hold up there, Turbo. Did you check to make sure that the breaker was off on that switch? I thought not. Now that you've got that off, you'll go ahead and remove the plate from the exterior of the switch. You'll also want to check this with a line tester. I couldn't find mine, so I ran the risk, but it's definitely better to make sure that you've turned off the right circuit. Once you've got the plate off, then you're going to begin the process of taking out the old switch. You'll just have to loose the two screws that are holding it into the receptacle there. And then it should pull loose pretty simply like that. Now you'll start clipping the wires off. I typically do them one at a time. I'll just clip the wire, curl it to make sure that it's going to fit around the contact point, and then tighten it on. It's kind of the same method that I would take if I was switching the spark plugs on a car to make sure that everything's connected to the right spot. Basically just moving one piece over at a time to make sure that everything's in there accurately. There's also strip guides on the back of the switch to let you know on the sheathing how much you need to take off to ensure proper contact. Three-way switches are unique in that there's two separate switches controlling the same set of lights. So if you switch one on and then switch the other one off, it's going to wind up putting one in a different position than the other. That's why they don't have the on and off printed on them like a normal two-way switch would. One thing that is possible to do, there are a lot of switches that will have a stab panel in the back where you can just shove the wire in. I don't particularly care for that method. I'll usually screw them on with the contacts. Once you've got all of your wires done, you'll go ahead and take a piece of electrical tape, attach that over the contact points to kind of make sure that you're covering all of the exposed contacts and it can't come into contact with any other metal items within the box. Sometimes these junction boxes can get a little bit crowded, so it kind of helps in that regard. Alright, once you're done with that, you can go ahead and start putting your switch back in. You're basically just reversing all of the steps you took. You'll start out first by screwing the switch itself into the box. And then you'll go ahead and replace the panel. And And there we go. It should be all good to go now.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to check out some of our other videos, be sure to check our channel. If you like it, go ahead and subscribe. If you haven't already, go ahead and definitely check out our website, hesitanthandyman.net. Working on some different projects and how-tos up on there, and hope that you find something on there useful. Have a great day.